Why do all wizards have long beards and pointy hats? Welcome back to another dark fantasy drawing tutorial. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to draw wizards. I'll teach you how to draw wizard robes and cloaks, and walk you through a full step-by-step process on how to draw a dark fantasy wizard. And of course, I'll go through some tips on how to draw a wizard in the dark fantasy art style. Right before we begin, let me cast a spell that makes the viewer click the subscribe button. Subscribe-a-cadabra. To draw a wizard, let's first know what wizards wear. Wizards wore robes, long flowing garments with sleeves that go all the way down to the feet. The robe would be the main piece of clothing for wizards, giving a majestic and mysterious look, often covering the entire body but the hands and feet. Wizards also wore cloaks, sleeveless outer garments, often with hoods attached, that would be worn on top of the robe. Cloaks were worn for extra magic powers or just to keep warm, like any other outer garment. On the head, wizards wore pointy wizard hats. Long ago, pointy hats were worn by intellectual scholars, acting as a symbol of great knowledge and status. In fantasy and medieval worlds, these pointy hats had this symbolic meaning too, and was also for focusing magic power toward the wizard's mind, giving extra magic power and protection to the owner of the mystical hat. So a wizard would have a pointy hat or hood on, but when channeling a powerful spell, the wizard might have no hat on him, for it might get in the way. Besides the robe, cloak, and hat, wizards didn't have anything else on them, keeping their attire nice and simple. Now that we know what a wizard wears, let's learn how to draw them. To draw robes and cloaks, we need to be able to draw clothing wrinkles. These wrinkles appear at the bending areas of the body, or from an external force. To know exactly where the body bends, and to draw the wizard in the intended proportions, lightly sketch the body underneath the robe in simple shapes first. Sketch the head, rib cage, pelvis, shoulders, and the elbows and knees in spheres. Think of it as drawing the guidelines. These guidelines are drawn in spheres because they're going to be where the body bends, which will naturally create clothing wrinkles in these areas. But I'll talk more on these wrinkles later. Sketch the hands and feet in round shapes too, and draw the arms and legs in cylinders or lines. Make sure you have these guidelines in the right places, checking the proportions once more before moving on to the details. Now that we have the guidelines, let's start adding the details in drawing a wizard step by step. Let's start with the head. For the head, first draw the eyebrows in the center of the sphere, then a long nose and some wrinkles around the eyes. Draw the eyes small but focused, with more wrinkles in between the eyebrows. Then draw the mustache and the mouth slightly showing under the mustache. Draw more wrinkles at the sides of the eyes and draw the long beard by drawing the silhouette of the beard in wavy lines, starting from the side of the face, long enough to cover the entire rib cage. Now for the pointy hat. Draw the brim of the hat, start at the eyebrows, and surround the head. Draw the point of the hat, place right above the sphere shape of the head, and draw the point naturally slant a little at the end. Now for the robe and cloak. When we draw the robe and cloak, we are going to draw the entire silhouette in bumpy lines first, and then add the clothing wrinkles next. Let's start by drawing the cloak that will go above the robe. Draw the hood of the cloak, surround the neck in bumpy lines. Then draw the cloak in bumpy lines, covering the shoulder and then meeting at the chest area under the beard. Now let's draw the robe. Draw the robe right under the cloak at the arms in bumpy lines. Draw the arms a little wider than the arms underneath, getting wider at the sleeves. Then draw the torso of the robe, narrow down from under the shoulders to the waist. Draw a belt at the waist right above the pelvis. You can draw wizards without a belt at the waist, but I like to draw the belt for wizards with cloaks on, because the belt goes well with the outer garment. Draw the rest of the robe starting from the belt, flowing downwards long enough to cover most of the feet. Then draw the hands. Now draw the rest of the cloak, flowing down from under the arms to the feet. And now we are done drawing the silhouette of the robe and cloak. Now that we have the silhouette of the robe and cloak in bumpy lines, let's draw the clothing wrinkles. Draw round clothing wrinkles that wrap around the shoulders and arms. Start drawing wrinkles in the slots in between the bumps of the bumpy lines. After drawing these wrinkles, draw more wrinkles in between these wrinkles in random length and thickness. Draw the wrinkles with soft edges. You can create a line with a soft edge by drawing with the swoop technique. Use the swoop technique by swooping down your pencil to paper as you start to draw the wrinkle and gradually lifting the pencil out, creating a wrinkle with soft edges. Gradually descend and ascend the pencil, creating a soft edge at the starting and ending points of the wrinkle. Draw darker and thicker wrinkles where the body bends, at the elbows and under the shoulders. Once you've drawn round lines in random length and thickness, blend these lines so that the wrinkle doesn't stand out, looking just like a line, but a wrinkle of clothing. Draw a light shadow under the cloak to distinguish the robe and cloak. For the clothing wrinkles of the torso, draw vertical clothing wrinkles that droop down towards the belt. Draw darker and thicker wrinkles where the body bends, at the pelvis area above the belt. Draw vertical clothing wrinkles for the legs too, that droop down to the feet. Draw darker and thicker wrinkles where the body bends, at the pelvis area, below the belt. Draw wrinkles with random length and thickness of lines with the swoop technique, maintaining soft edges. You can also give a slight curve to a few of the vertical wrinkles that were created by an external force, like the wind. You can also create a wrinkle above the foot by drawing a curved wrinkle that U-turns back up, creating a wrinkle right above the foot. Once you've drawn vertical or curved lines in random length and thickness, blend these lines once again so that the wrinkle doesn't stand out looking just like a line. Draw the shoes in curved lines wrapping around the foot to create the texture of leather straps. Now for the shading. Lightly shade the cloak and the sleeves and add shadows to the hands. Let's also draw a magic staff for the wizard. Draw a wooden staff a little crooked here and there, and choose the design that goes on top of the staff. I'll draw a fire staff, resembling the design of a lamp on fire. Wizards would have a long staff or short wand as a main weapon to cast spells, or could just be bare-handed, being able to cast spells with their bare hands. Apart from that, wizards could have with them books or orbs for magic power or for the protection of these rare, powerful items so it doesn't go into the wrong hands. Let's finish the shading of the rest of the wizard. Shade the beard in light, curvy lines and the hat in round horizontal wrinkles. Now shade in the darkest shadows, the bottom of the hat, the shadow of the hat on the hood of the cloak, and then the flowing cloak and sleeves. Add extra details like a few more buckles at the belt or some keys to a hidden laboratory connected to the belt. And lastly, add a cold and dark background, and we are done. Since you've all subscribed and given this video a like, here are 3 tips on how to draw the wizard in the dark fantasy art style. Tip number 1. Draw the wizards aged. Wizards look stronger when they look older. There are many different types of wizards. Some don't have beards and look young, and some wear complex outfits. But ironically, the younger the wizard looks, the weaker the wizard will appear, because wizards would get stronger through more study and understanding. So the beard and simple attire would make the wizard look stronger, giving an older and wiser look. Whereas a wizard with no beard would look like an apprentice in training, giving a younger look. Tip number 2. Draw the hands long and pointy. Hands play an important role for wizards because of the mystical hand gestures for casting spells and magic crafts. So drawing the hands long and pointy will give more emphasis on what the wizard is doing and will portray the hand more like a wizard's hand, because most wizards had long and pointy hands, representing the mysterious and magical look of a wizard. Tip number 3. Add color. Despite this being dark fantasy, the robes of these wizards were pretty bright and colorful, so I bought some colored pencils and added color. I used Faber-Castell colored pencils because it had a dark fantasy cover to it. After a light sketch in pencil with zero shading, I started coloring with my colored pencils. After coloring the first few colors, I thought the colors were too light and dull, and even started to regret coloring. But after adding a few extra colors, finally finishing coloring a character, I found out the colors started to pop. There was something about these colored pencils that the more I colored, adding more layers, the more the colors started to shine bright. And it turned out better than I thought. It took some time layering the drawing multiple times, but as the drawing got better and better over time, through multiple layers, that's when I started to really have fun coloring, especially after coloring the background. Adding color with colored pencils really emphasized the dark fantasy feeling by filling up the paper with bright and vivid colors, giving more depth and emotion to the drawing. I think I've used up all my mana. Drawing these whimsical wizards was quite the adventure. But you all know this adventure doesn't stop here. I'm going to continue this journey of drawing to get better. Join me, fellow adventurer, and subscribe-a-cadabra. Alright, that's enough dark fantasy for today, and as always, let's get better together, guys. Take it easy.